everybody. Welcome to the Locks Don't Lie Weekend Preview Show. I'm your host, Tony Betts. We don't even need to go over last weekend as we got absolutely punched in the mouth by NASCAR and NFL.
Oh, no! No! 3D!
It's a new week. Just like the winning weeks with the losing weeks, we move on quickly. It's time to find some winners out there. Let's get to the winner. Tony NASCAR, step on in here. Finally, we might get our last race on this god-forsaken configuration of Texas. Thankfully, there are rumors of a reconfiguration at Texas Motor Speedway. This track has raced like garbage, and thankfully NASCAR and IndyCar are getting on Texas Motor Speedway about it. I've seen some rumors about them demolishing the track and starting over at the end of this race, but we're not going to sit around and talk about that forever. Let's get on. The Xfinity Series playoffs are starting. It's the round of 12 for the Xfinity Series, Tony. It's the round of 12 for the Cup Series. Should be a great weekend of NASCAR racing. Why don't we move on, Tony, to the Andy's Frozen Custard 300, the Xfinity Series, first round of the playoffs for those boys. Who are you liking for outrights? Yeah, Tony, for outrights this week in the Xfinity Series, I'm looking at the usual suspects, Junior Motorsports and Ty Gibbs.
Facing each other for a long time. Oh, there's a punt.
Junior Motorsports has dominated these mile-and-a-half races, and I don't expect that to stop as the playoffs start. The story of this race was some early tire failures by some drivers who were riding around in that PJ1. I expect these teams to get that figured out as these playoffs start. You cannot afford a bad race in the playoffs as we have seen in the Cup Series as the first round is concluded. So I don't expect these guys to be taking some of the risks that maybe they were taking in May with their setups. So with that being said, I'm looking at Noah Gragson, Ty Gibbs, or Justin Allgaier. Give me the longest shot out of those guys. Noah Gragson ran into some issues riding around in that PJ1 like I talked about, and right now he's posted as the co-favorite with Ty Gibbs at plus 400 and Justin Allgaier up there at plus 300. Like I said, give me the longest shot of that. I'll take Noah Gragson, but I know I have to get some sort of Junior Motorsports this week as they have dominated these mile-and-a-half tracks. You look at the green flag speed from the race run here in May. You see Justin Allgaier and Sam Mayer right there below these Cup guys that will not be racing in this race this weekend. Maybe see if Sam Mayer can get up there. I don't know if I can trust them with my money anymore after this move here at Bristol.
3 wide at Bristol.
But we move on. It's another week, and maybe he's ready to get that off his back and get a trophy in his trophy case. I might be looking to sprinkle a little bit on a long shot Sam Mayer if the odds are good enough at my book, Tony. Well, Tony, do you have a long shot you'd like to highlight? We can move on to the Cups. You have a long shot? Go ahead, highlight a long shot that you would like to go over for the Xfinity Series. Yeah, Tony, I do have another long shot that I could highlight for you. Austin Hill in that 21 car. I love this boy, Austin Hill. You know we're big fans of Austin Hill on this channel. He lives in the top 5, it feels. 25 to go. Look up at the standings. Austin Hill is in 5th, 6th, or 4th. He is just hanging around up front all season long unless he runs into bad luck. Hopefully he can take that step forward next year, start winning and dominating some races. But I love Austin Hill, and I will be betting on him anytime he's over 10-1 at these super speedways. This isn't a super speedway from a draft perspective, but it is from a gas down, turn left. You have a lot of throttle input in a lap at this track, not a lot of tire wear. I feel like this is a track that could really cater to the tracks that we've seen Austin Hill exceed at this year, like Daytona, Talladega, and the new configuration at Atlanta. This definitely is not a draft super speedway sort of track, but this is a gas down, turn left, and just dig around the corners. I think Austin Hill can do that pretty well. Well, Tony, why don't we move on to the second round of the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs, also the round of 12. Who do you like for outrights in the Cup Series, Tony? Yeah, Tony, the round of 12 for the NASCAR playoffs is kicking off. The second round of the NASCAR playoffs, down to 12 drivers, as you can see, and it is tight once again for the Cup Series championship. And a guy I want to highlight this week is a guy who's really turned it on since the playoffs have started, and that's Christopher Bell from Joe Gibbs. That 20 car has been bad fast ever since the playoffs started, and I've really wanted to get on him the last 2 weeks, but the number at my book just hasn't been good enough. Now I'm thinking, I don't care what the number is. It almost looked like Christopher Bell's week at Bristol. I think I'm going to have to put my money down on him as one of the favorites this week, Tony. Tony, you know we're not a fan of favorites here at Locks Don't Lie. Do you have anybody below maybe 10-1 that you want to go over for the Cup Series race this weekend? Yeah, Tony, there's a lot of mystery this week since we've gone to Texas for the All-Star race, but we haven't run an official race there in this next-gen car yet. So I believe there's a lot of value down in this board that I think the numbers are only going to raise as the weekend goes on. One of those drivers, real quick, Ross Chastain. I like any number above 10-1. I think he should be a co-favorite, and these numbers are just disrespectful right here. Ross Chastain has led laps and been a contender at all of the correlating mile-and-a-half tracks that go with Texas. We're looking at data from Kansas, Charlotte, and Vegas. He has more laps led than anyone at mile-and-a-half configurations in the Cup Series this year. Not having Ross Chastain as one of the favorites, absolutely disrespectful. Got to take him at any number above 10-1. Another driver I'm looking at down here that I believe is only going to get better is Joey Logano down here at 20-1. I can't believe that number right there. Penske was bad fast during the All-Star race, cashing an outright ticket of Ryan Blaney for us. I expect Penske to come with bad fast speed again this week, and I do not think Joey Logano is going to close the weekend at 20-1. One more super dog, Tony, that I want to highlight all the way down at the bottom before I go. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. at 250-1. But why don't we put a little scratch on Ricky Stenhouse for the exact same reasons that I highlighted Austin Hill earlier in this episode? This is a gas down, turn left, low tire wear track, and I think Ricky Stenhouse, even though this isn't a drafting super speedway track, if we could get some craziness up front where there is some sort of big one or a couple big ones on some restarts, Ricky Stenhouse gets himself up front, avoids all the crashes. We've got like 15 cars left on track, and Ricky Stenhouse cashes a 250-1 ticket as I'm screaming in my living room. That's a donation to Vegas. I might not advise tailing that. Who knows the craziness that could happen at Texas this weekend, Tony? Tony, thank you so much for coming on for another week. Hopefully we can get an outright cash this weekend. Let's hope those junior motorsport guys are fast. Maybe we can cash some of these long shots. I appreciate your time this weekend. Thank you for stopping by. As we're going to move on once again to Tony NFL. Tony NFL, come on up here. Rough weekend last weekend. Let's move on. It's time for NFL Week 3. What are a couple matchups you're looking to highlight this week? Yeah, Tony, just like the good weeks with the bad, all we care about is moving on to the next week and finding the winners. And with that next week, some of the games I want to highlight off of the surface of statistics here, Tony, are going to be the Colts-Chiefs is the first game. Chiefs are 6-point favorites in Indianapolis, over under 50.5, and the Colts have a disappointing start to their year. 0-2 straight up, 0-2 against the spread, which only gamblers really care about. But the trends in Week 3 are looking tremendous for the Colts. Why don't we go over some of them here, Tony? Winless home teams against teams with 1+ win in Week 3 are 31-19-2 against the spread. Teams with at least one ATS loss and the number opened under a touchdown. This one opened, it looked like at 6.5. 89-54-2. Underdogs coming off a game where they were shut out as long as the favorite is not coming off of a bye. 41-21-3. I mean, these trends are looking, I'm not even done yet, Tony. Teams that start 0-2 straight up and against the spread in Week 3 are 45-28. And home dogs catching 7+ points after starting 0-2 are 4-0 against the spread, Tony, and they should be 4-0 straight up in those 4 games. Teams off of a shutout loss as 3-point dogs facing non-division teams are 51-14-3. And if those trends are not enough for you, Patrick Mahomes, Kansas City Chiefs quarterback, is 1-15 against the spread as a 7+ point favorite. And if you want to look at Coach Andy Reid, good off of rest, if you narrow it down to the Thursday night football rest, 9 to 13 days rest, or 10 days exactly, he's not that impressive. Andy Reid, more impressive, just strictly off of a bye. Andy Reid is 7-10 ATS off of 9 to 13 days rest, and he's only 5-7 coming off of a Thursday game, then playing on that next Sunday against the spread, failing to cover by an average of 2.6 points. Tony, I am looking at the Colts +6 and possibly the money line as well this weekend. Tony Trends, Tony Stats, Tony NFL coming with the numbers today. Give us your second matchup, buddy. Yeah, Tony, another game I want to highlight, the final game I want to highlight here is we got most likely the ugliest game of the weekend, Texans-Bears. Over under a low 40 points. Bears 2.5-point favorites at home, and I'm looking for head coach Lovie Smith and that +2.5 to cash for us in the Houston Texans. Chicago is due for some sort of turnover luck regression. They have recovered 5 fumbles this year on defense, while they've only given up 1. I did not like Chicago in the preseason, and nothing I've seen this year has changed my mind. Just because you beat a quarterback with 11 total starts in his football career does not mean I am impressed by your season so far. Justin Fields has not had the best year as well. 2 interceptions in just 40 dropbacks, and he has the league highest in turnover-worthy throws in 9.8%. That's 3% higher than number 2, Derek Carr. And if you want to look at Davis Mills, he's throwing a 1.2% turnover-worthy throw rate, 0 interceptions on the season, and he's getting rid of the ball 4th quickest in the league and has the 3rd most dropbacks in the league over that time. I'm looking for Davis Mills, hit some of those quick slants, hit some of those tight end sticks, move the ball up and down the field, while Justin Fields continues to look confused out there on 1st and 2nd down, passing the ball. I got the Texans +2.5 and possibly the Texans money line in an underdog parlay this weekend, Tony. Pooh-wee. Couple of stinkers this weekend, Tony, but I appreciate you and the surface of statistics dropping by for us. Hope to see you next week. Before we move on and end this episode of the Locks Don't Lie Weekend Preview Show, make sure you give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed what you saw, and hit that sub button if you don't want to miss any videos from Locks Don't Lie this NFL season. Remember, we're going to be streaming all Saturday and Sunday for 10+ hours, starting at 11:45 a.m. Eastern Time for the Saturday college football card, all the way through the 7 o'clock games. And then on Sunday, we're going live right when that red zone timer comes on 5 minutes before kickoff. We go live, and we're live all the way through the 4:30 games until Football Night in America starts. The streams have been incredible.
That's incredible.
Well, that's not what Kyle Petty said.
What the has Kyle Petty got to do with this?
The last couple weeks, stop on by, chat it up with us, and let's sweat out some bets together. Otherwise, make sure you stay locked in to the Twitter right here for all the official picks this weekend. The lock list will be given out Saturday at 11:30, Sunday at 12:30. Before we wrap up here, why don't we go over all of our official picks? As you guys know by now, it's football season. We have a stacked card right next to us. Let's go over all of them real quick here. First, kicking off here in a couple hours, we have got UTEP +15.5 at home against Boise State. Let's go, Miner Nation. Then we move on to Sunday as we got a basketball school absolute slobber knock.
It's going to be a slobber knocker to say the very least.
Here between Duke and Kansas, and we got the Fighting Coach K's plus a touchdown and a hook. Give me the 7.5 in Kansas. TCU -1.5 against SMU. Eastern Michigan -6 against Buffalo. UNC -1.5 against the Notre Dame University. Michigan State +3 against my beloved Golden Gophers up in Minnesota. Row the boat. And let's move on to our Xfinity Series picks, as these are familiar names. We got Junior Motorsports +400, Noah Gregson. Let's move on to the rest of our Sunday card here. As you can see, our 1 p.m. football picks starting up at the top. Cincinnati -4.5, New England +3, and we also have the Colts +6.5 that Tony NFL highlighted earlier. -2 against the Titans. Vikings -6 against the Detroit Lions. Miami +6 against Buffalo. And give me that divisional home dog in the Commanders +6.5 at home against the Eagles. As we move on here to our 3 official NASCAR picks for Sunday's race, pre-practice, pre-qualifying. Got a half unit on 20-1 Joey Logano, a quarter of a unit on 250-1 Ricky Stenhouse Jr., and 1 full unit on 11-1 Ross Chastain. 1 bet on the 4 p.m. game so far, as we have Atlanta +1. And then Tony's teaser of the week, we've got Green Bay teased to over a touchdown. Pair that with Denver teased over a touchdown. Hopefully that can cash. We are 0 for 1 for the Tony teasers of the week so far. And for the YOLO underdog parlay, we're coming in at 6-1 here with the Colts money line and the Houston Texans money line in Chicago. Here's all the picks for you. Thank you guys for stopping by once again to the Locks Don't Lie weekend preview show. May the winners be yours. Locks don't lie.